And even we can also share
So it's
the
fine, no?
YouTube link to our students as well. So it's really nice that our faculty are taking the initiative and taking the lead, and that's why we call it a family who working together to achieve the goal of world family. Really nice.
Mhm. Nice.
Well, Arjunji, we can now start.
Okay.
It's already time. Welcome.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Okay. Namaste. So, in today's session, we'll talk about happiness and prosperity and a little bit more into um, the current assumptions that we have about these things and then how we can relate it to what we are saying in UHV. So, that way we get a clearer picture because there are lots of questions even then because um, like even though in theory we are able to see something, we're not able to. I mean, there's a gap between uh, what is coming into our memory and what is into our coming into our actual feeling and action. So we're just discussing about happiness and prosperity, and it's very clear that we are all aspiring for happiness and prosperity and the continuity of them. Like that is our basic aspiration of all of us, everyone, and that is naturally acceptable also. So that's why it is universal. It's the same for everyone, that everyone wants that same thing. So regardless of what we have assumed will give us happiness, we are still like we know how happiness feels, and then we want to have it in continuity. So therefore we just keep making efforts for that, and many of the efforts end up giving us only temporary happiness because the nature of the things that we are going after are more physical, or they can lead to only something which is like a very temporary thing, very temporary kind of happiness. So that's why and we don't realize that, and that's why we just keep going after those things, because as we keep experiencing those things we keep getting like small installments of happiness. So then that's why we get kind of addicted to that. So that's the current scenario. Like if we can see this example, um, it always depends on what we've assumed about happiness. Like for someone, it may be that they've assumed that if they have a big house or lots of money, they may be happier. Or somebody might have the craving for tasty food, and then when they get the tasty food then they feel happy at that time. Somebody else may have it for listening to loud music, and like there are so many things like that. Somebody might have it for attention, that if more people give attention to them then they feel better. But all these things like name and fame and all these things, money and all these things, they have the same kind of characteristic, that when you experience them for a short time you feel kind of happy, but that kind of happiness is more like excitement, because that cannot last. It's like a sudden jump in your mood or in your state of how you feel. So it's like something where it quickly rises and then it quickly falls also, because it cannot be continuous. So this is what we want to observe, that like when we like for food, it's very easy to observe that when we have this craving for tasty food, then at the time of getting the craving we are kind of having the expectation in our mind that it's going to taste like this and that'll make us feel good and all that. So then when we go for the food, actually, then during the eating process also we are able to feel that happiness while eating. And then when we become full, then after some time that happiness diminishes a little bit, and then we still keep eating a little bit, like overeating a little bit, because we want to keep getting that happiness from that same source. And after some time, when we become over full, then after some time, even if the same tasty food is kept in front of us, we don't have that craving at that time anymore because we're full. So when the stomach is full, if somebody gives you that kind of food when you've already overeaten, then you'll have no kind of happiness coming from that after that point. So you can see that there's a limit on that, and not only limit, there's a stage which comes where you cannot take more of that. If you take more, then it will lead to more and more problem for you, where you'll feel unhappy because you have to eat that food. I mean, like, it goes in stages, right? Like in the beginning, when the craving is there, and as soon as you have the first bite, then that feels very good. And then as you become full, it keeps diminishing. That happiness that you're getting out of that keeps diminishing. And then after a point, it reaches the point where that food gives you unhappiness, that tasty food. So basically, what we're saying is this is the same for all of these things. We can't see it right now because we have not experienced that whole graph of going all the way up and then how it comes down. But once we, either we have to experience it, or else we have to kind of realize that all of these are actually leading to the same kind of graph. So like, whether it is money also, we have seen that the role of money and physical facility is to protect the body and ensure the right utilization of the body. And there's not much more role of money actually. And even for all the other things which we have written here, they're all trying to make us happy, but then they all are short lived because of the same problem, that it's a quick graph, that it quickly goes up and then it quickly comes down. So when it comes down, then we still remember the feeling that we had when it was on the top. So that's why we keep going after the same thing again, so that we get more and more of those spikes. And then we feel that if we have more and more of those spikes, then we feel happier. But in reality, as we have more and more of those spikes, it is actually leading to more and more unhappiness in the long run, because when we don't have these things, like the tasty food, suppose you have it every week, then all the time in between, you're still craving for that one experience. And then at the time of that experience, you feel good, and you escape from all the other feelings which you had, which are not so good, like negative feelings or whatever is going on in the mind. You just escape from that for a few moments, and that's actually excitement, that's not even happiness. And then again you come back to the same thing. It's like when you have a good dream also, then you feel very good during the dream, but as soon as you wake up, then you realize you're back to your normal routine, and your life is going on as usual. So all these things are short lived, all these kinds of happiness which we get from all these things. So now we can just share some observations, like if any of you have observed these things about some of these things are very easy to observe, like the tasty food is easy to observe. When you go to a restaurant, you look forward to the eating experience and the taste and all that. You have expectations, you go with that. And then if you don't get tasty food, it's a different matter. But if you get tasty food, then uh, you feel happy at that time. Or when you watch a movie also with friends and all that, then you look forward to that experience, and then you like the experience also. You have fun in the movie, or whatever you do, you have fun, and then you come back. So it feels good, there's no doubt about that. But we're just saying that we can observe that these are spikes which cannot be continuous. So you can just answer in the chat in the form of yes or no if you can observe this, that it cannot be continuous. Or if you feel that it can be continuous, you can just we can have a discussion, and then we can just take more points of views, and we can just see what everyone is saying. if anyone wants to share any experience also about what they felt about this kind of thing, their experience of what happened when they had the aspiration for like getting happiness through more attention, other people's attention, or through fame, or through money, or whatever else. There are so many things which you could go for, but you can see that they are all leading only to a temporary kind of feeling of excitement, and you're actually escaping from everything else which is going on in the mind.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So we can see that like we are shifting from one thing to the other continuously, because we are not able to kind of recognize this thing, that this can only be temporary. So in this example, it's written here that, like, for example, not getting attention of spouse, and then you shift to doing something else which you think will give you happiness, which is like watching TV. This is just example. Could be, these details can be very different for different people. But basically, we are just saying that all these sources are temporary, and then um, when we exhaust one of them, or when we are not able to get one of them, then we shift to another one, and then we keep going in circles like this, and there's no real end to that, because it's just the nature of all these things, that they cannot really fulfill you on a long term. They're just things which will always be uh, very short, very temporary. It's like if you go for a movie, you're feeling happy watching a movie, or you're feeling good at that moment, then you can't really replicate that for your whole life, because other situations will come, other things will keep happening which are unfavorable. So this kind of method doesn't really work if we are trying to have a goal of continuous happiness. It works only to distract from what we're doing, and then when we're unhappy, then it gives a little bit of relief for a short period of time. But more than that, it cannot really give you continuous happiness. So this is what we're seeing. There's one hand raised. You can go ahead. Can speak. Any hands raised? I think one was raised. Now it's not raised. Okay. If anyone wants to share about their experience of um, all these things, because even now, like, we can, if we look at what we are doing, our try to observe our thoughts and desires, then we can clearly see that we are going after some of these things, maybe not these things, but we're going after something or the other, like this, which we already like we go after it only because we feel that, you know, our life will be a little bit better if we if you go after that. For different people it might be different. Like, somebody might run after the attention, somebody might feel that you know, if I'm getting that attention, then I feel more confident. If I don't get that attention, then I don't feel so confident, or I don't feel as good about myself. So like that, it could be various things like this. And if we really see, then we really know what is happening in our case, because for everybody it might be a little bit different. What it always depends on your assumptions about what would make you happy, and these could be very deep, which you might not even realize. Some of them you might realize, some of them you might not even realize. So if we just draw our awareness towards this, we'll start seeing. And when we have a situation, or when we are thinking about something, or when we are desiring something, then we can draw our attention towards what it is that we are desiring, and then try to see whether that would give us this kind of happiness or not. And then knowing that it will give you temporary happiness, then you just be aware of that whole experience and see that whole graph going up and down. And then over a period of time, when you do that kind of an exercise, then your dependence on all these things for happiness, for that short burst of the temporary kind of happiness, becomes less and less over time. So you can start noticing that as you keep doing this kind of exercise. So these are some kinds of notions, or some kind of assumptions about happiness also, that like that you will be bored of happiness if you're always happy, or how do I know what happiness is if I'm never unhappy, these kind of things. So and these things, that happiness and unhappiness go together. So um, in all these notions, first of all, the main issue is that the happiness and unhappiness are not clearly defined. Like when we're talking about these kind of happiness and unhappiness, we're talking about reacting to the situations, or we're talking about this temporary kind of happiness. We're not really talking about happiness as harmony. But when we see happiness as harmony, then you never get bored of harmony, because harmony is something innate. It's like a state where you're always comfortable. You're comfortable within. You're not excited, but you're just comfortable within. So if you're in that kind of a state where you're comfortable, it's like asking, would you want to have health problems such that your body is uncomfortable, or would you like to have uh, good health so that your body is always active and comfortable? So no one would say that, you want to have an unhealthy body. So in the same way, this happiness is also something where you're trying to say the happiness in the self is uh, within ourself, and then that is something which we're able to recognize as harmony. Happiness is to be in harmony. So when we see it that way, then you don't get bored of it, because that is a natural state actually. That's where you would want to be, in a state like that, where you're never really getting too excited about things, and you're never getting like depressed about things also. You're always in a state of harmony. So then you don't really get bored of that. And this thing about growth also, growth, what we say, or that you want to achieve something or do something more in the world, then rather than having to be in unhappiness or a struggle such that you come out of that struggle and then you go forward, you can see that if you really have the right understanding about what you're doing, then you'll be much more effective, much more kind of productive in whatever you're doing. And at the same time, you'll also be able to you know create that path for yourself and keep going wherever you have to go, very straight, in a very straightforward way. So this notion also that I'll grow only if I'm unhappy, that also is not really true, because um, this notion comes from the idea that if you struggle and you're unhappy, you have less resources and you want to get to the next point or something, then you go through that and that motivates you. But instead of that kind of unhappiness motivating you to go up, imagine what would happen if you're already happy and you still see what you want to do, and you're very clear about what you want to do. So then obviously you're more productive, and then you're automatically motivated, because you have a strong reason for what you want to do, and you just go on the path. So then all the distractions also become less. And then in that kind of scenario, you don't look at um, like the process, you don't look at it as a struggle or something where you have to get from here to there. You look at it as something like a journey. You look at it as something like a preparation for the next step. You keep going one by one and keep preparing and then going ahead. like a journey kind of. So then your state of mind is also different, and the outcome is also different. The outcome is also much more holistic. Like you're going after something which is more holistic and more broad. So that is a different scenario. So this also assumption you can just look at. And then like all these things, mostly these notions are coming from the assumption that happiness is coming from all those temporary sources which we had talked about in the previous slide. So if happiness is coming from there, then some of these make sense. But if happiness is coming from the harmony which you're able to see within yourself as a matter of understanding and the right feeling, the right understanding as a consequence of that, then things are very different. So these are some of the notions about happiness. So as we are always saying that happiness is different from excitement, and pleasure uh, leads to pain also. Pleasure leads to pain because, like how you were mentioning that example of the restaurant, where you go to the restaurant, you have the craving for that tasty food, and then after you finish and you come back, then after a few days again you feel like going there. So then again it's that kind of craving. So that's like that's something where you feel that you don't have something which you want to have. Even for some gadget, it could be some kind of phone, some kind of car, or bigger house, or whatever. It could be any of these things, that it leads to pleasure, which feels good, favorable sensation, but then its absence leads to even more pain, or even more suffering, you can say. Suffering is what happens in the mind. The pain is mostly like talking about the body. But you have that favorable sensation, and then when you don't have it, then the absence of that sensation makes you unhappy. Like the restaurant example also, the absence of that tasty food, once you've tasted it, like suppose you had it yesterday and then you're thinking about it today, then since you don't have it today, then the absence of that sensation is making you unhappy. So can you see that? That's a very interesting thing, that if you're able to experience that, then you know that uh, you know that it's temporary, and because of its absence you're feeling unhappy. Same with the third one also, the attention, appreciation. This expands up to fame also. Fame is also the same kind of thing, that we are trying to get attention or get feelings from others so that we can feel happy, because we feel that we are not good enough, or we have a kind of a hole in our feelings, where we feel that if somebody respects us, or if somebody gives us more attention, then it will make us more happy. But this is also the same kind of thing, where we are trying to get the feeling from the other, trying to get favorable feelings from the other, and try to make that a source of happiness. And that also, of course, is temporary, doesn't last, because there won't be people always complimenting you and saying good things and giving you that favorable feeling. Some people will not give you the feeling, some people will give you unfavorable feelings. And even if people give you favorable feelings, then they cannot keep giving you that all the time, right? So in that way you can see that that is also temporary. If we have the feeling within ourselves, then regardless of what feelings the other person gives, we will always be able to be in the same state. So this is another thing which is important to see. And again, here also, um, if we are dependent on that feeling from the other, and we have experienced it once or twice or some number of times, then we have that craving again, that when I do this, I will get more attention, more appreciation. Like when I go on stage and give a speech, then I might get more attention and appreciation. So then since I'm not going on stage for a couple of days, I might have this feeling that I have to go on stage next. I want to go next so that I get that feeling. So all these are these kind of cravings which are coming from first of all having that sensation we've got that pleasurable sensation once or twice or many times already. And since we are not experiencing it right now at this moment, but we want to have it every moment, we are unhappy because of the fact that we don't have it right now. So are you able to see this? This is very important. This point is very important. So I'm saying it again and again, that if you get some sensation of the favorable food or feeling or physical facility or whatever it may be, once you get that either object or feeling or whatever you get like that, is for a short time. Like when you buy a new car also, you might feel very good about it for a short time, and then after that, that feeling disappears, and your normal routine life keeps going on, and then you don't really feel that happiness about it every moment, right? About the new car, you feel it for a few moments, but you don't feel it all the time. You feel it for some time and then it goes away. So all these things, it's the same category, that it can only lead to feeling of excitement for that moment. It'll happen, and then all the other moments after that, you'll have a craving for getting that same kind of feeling again. So then you run after different things because you don't know which one will work. Like suppose you got the car, then you know that you can't keep buying a car every moment. So then you think that, maybe going for a movie will make it happen, that happiness, and you get it also for a few moments. But then again, once you come back from the movie, then again the next day you're thinking about that experience, which was a good experience for you. You felt happy at that time, and then you're thinking about that experience, and that is leading to a feeling of unhappiness because you can't experience that at this moment right now. So I hope it's a little bit clear what I'm trying to say. It's a little bit um, it's something which you'll have to really try to be aware of when all these things are happening, so that way you'll be able to observe it more keenly. Like the first one about physical facility, we can see and have a balance between our what we really need, our needs, physical needs, for the right utilization and protection of the body, without dependence on physical facility for happiness. So that's the main thing. So we're not saying that owning physical facility is a problem, or if somebody appreciates you, it's a problem. That's not the thing. The thing is that all these things are okay, but then expecting happiness to come out of these things on a continuous kind of a basis is an assumption which can never become uh, which can never be a reality, because we have a dependence on all these things, and then you can't really have these things at every moment. So obviously you cannot derive happiness from them also at every moment. So are you able to observe this? You can write in the chat as yes or no, and if you want to share some experience or something about this, you can share. Would anyone like to share? You can just share some experience where something happened in your life where you felt like at some point maybe that accumulating physical facility will end up in happiness, continuous happiness, or um, attention might give you, like fame might give you continuous happiness. There are lots of people who are very famous who have like millions of fans and all that. So I mean, like for different people, they might have different kinds of assumptions about these things. So we can just share if you have any experience or something. There's one hand raised. You can speak.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. What about like being attractive or something? For example, less attractive people are treated differently than more attractive people. And if those same attractive people were to get like surgery done or something to become attractive, other people would treat them better for being more attractive. So in a way, we can say that this material gain, that is like surgery or something, or increasing attractiveness, this material gain is also like permanent.
Basically, what you're saying is that the person is feeling that he's not looking good or she's not looking good, and therefore trying to change that look. So we're trying to again get attention from the other, and then we are basing our whole choices and everything on what the other is giving you in terms of your in the feeling. So if the other person is giving you a feeling of, that this person looks bad, then does that really, I mean, is that the basis of your choice? If that is the basis of your choice, then you're very dependent on the other for your choice. So in that case, you're not able to take your own decision about it, and therefore, like, you're, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, you're dependent on the other person
Yes, yes, yes.
for that. And if the other person says you look good, then you feel happy. If the other person says you don't look good, then you feel that you have to get surgery done. So that means that it's not your choice now to do the surgery. You're making it your choice, but it's actually being triggered by all these other people. So here again, what we're trying to say is that if we are, see, where was it? Yeah, attention and appreciation, right? We're trying to get feelings from the others. And when they give you that feeling, then you feel good. When they don't give you that feeling, then you don't feel good. So if that is the mode in which we're operating, then it always depends on the other person, right? Like, suppose I'm giving you a good feeling, then you feel good at that time, then you feel like you don't need the surgery. And then suppose, say, again, I see you after a day, and then I say, okay, now, I don't think you look good or something. I mean, I try to imply that. I don't say it directly, but then I say something. Then again, you're in the doubt, and then you go into feeling whether you need to do that surgery or not. So what I'm trying to say is that if this fluctuates, then it always depends on the other person. Suppose some third person says that you definitely need the surgery because you look very horrible, then that makes you feel like, oh, okay, I really need the surgery. Suppose 100 people say the same thing, that you need this surgery because you don't look good, then that starts becoming a part of your own assumption. So actually that is an assumption, that's like an opinion from someone else. It's not your initial opinion. It's an opinion from somebody else, and if 100 people are saying it, then you feel that, yeah, that is true, and then you go ahead and you get that done. But if you really look at it, then your feeling should be in your hands, right? Your feeling should be in your control, and you should need to have, I mean, you should have that feeling in yourself, so that whatever somebody says, whether he says that you look good or you don't look good, either way you're able to have the same kind of feeling within yourself, that you know what you look like, and you're able to deal with it.
Okay.
So the more you have dependence on the other, the more you're kind of enslaved on the other person's opinion. And the other person's opinion is also just an opinion, right? That's not the reality. And even if you look different from the other person, everyone has different kinds of looks anyway. But I'm just saying that even if you have this thing that you don't look good or something, then in the world there are all kinds of differences in body shape and this face type and all that, right? So that will always be there. That is like genetic, so many things are there, and that is something which you don't want to really go into. But mostly this thing is happening because our confidence is depending on the other person's opinion. So when the other person is giving you appreciation, then you feel good, and when the other person is giving you criticism, then you feel bad. So what I'm saying is that if you're able to see that kind of mode of operation will make you enslaved to the other person's opinion, then you can also see that if you are having the same feeling about yourself regardless of what the other person may say, then you are very stable. And in that kind of situation, whatever the other person says, you just take it. I mean, you just listen to it, and then you take whatever points you want to take, but then you don't get so attached to that opinion in such a way that you can't decide on your own. So even with say you go to a party or something, you're wearing a very nice shirt, which a lot of people are appreciating, and then one guy comes and says that, this looks like some kind of beggar shirt or something, then immediately that might put you down. But all this while you were feeling happy because all these people were appreciating you, and then suddenly one person says that you look like a beggar in this shirt, then you feel that maybe this shirt is not good. So that's the thing that can happen if we get too dependent on other people's opinions. Then we're not able to decide for ourselves. So we choose our shirt to wear because this is what we want to wear. And then you know um, things like that, like whatever you make, whatever choice you make, you can make it on the basis of your own feelings, on the basis of your own whatever assumptions you have, and basically try to make choices according to your natural acceptance. That will always make you feel comfortable. And then regardless of whatever happens outside, you won't be affected. So even looks, if you see the looks of the body is a very superficial thing. Like even the shirt and how that looks, it doesn't really matter so much if you look at it. Like your feeling matters more, right? Like if you feel good about something, that matters much more than whether your shirt has a small dot of ink on it, or these kind of things. Nobody's even looking there, but then you know it, so then you look at that. So it's all your perception of all these things. And then basically the conclusion over here, what we're trying to say is that rather than being dependent on the other person for feelings, you can have those feelings within yourself, whichever feelings you want to have within yourself, and then interact with other people in the world. And that way you'll always be very comfortable within yourself.
Namaste, Arjun and Priya. I have a question.
Namaste.
Today I was feeling when poor people know, especially my maid and all, when they come and tell sometimes the problems, I get upset very. That day I will be little upset, and I feel why it is happening for them, financial constraint, and nobody's there to. They tell that nobody's there to take care. So, but it gets that day I will be little upset. But after some time I don't see them, then it goes off. But that day will be a little as you have told, your happiness should not depend upon any other things. But usually it happens if my colleagues tell her family issue, that doesn't get upset much, because that is there, we feel that is there in all the families. But when low income people, because of the financial constraint, and their children are not taking care of them, that makes me upset for some time. And it disturbs me also.
Okay.
Why it is happening like that for them.
So why it is happening for them, that is one issue. And then second issue is why you're feeling upset. So these are two separate things. We don't have to link them, because if we link them, then we get confused about what to do. So the first issue is about their situation and this inequality kind of which is there.
Yeah.
So that is, there are many reasons for that, but overall, if we see in a nutshell, it is because of the way that the current society is basing everything on money, profit, and maximizing the profit and trying to dominate with the people who are able to have power, they are able to kind of make all the rules, and the whole framework of the society right now, the way it is running, is a lot to do with money and a lot to do with the domination. So because of that, there will be inequality as a byproduct, because only then the rich can do all these things. Otherwise, if everyone was equal, then they would not have this kind of power to exploit and make things in such a way that it would be like this. So that is a long drawn out thing which we can change as a society in the long run if we work on a different system, which we are trying to work on now, right, through this holistic kind of system. But that will take time, because that is a fair system which is not running right now. So that is something which we cannot really improve overnight, but we can
But
certainly
in
help those
Kerala,
people.
we don't
Yes.
differentiate much with the poor people like that. Like since they're poor, we behave like that. It is not there much. We treat them equally, but they have a lot of financial constraint. To some extent, we can help, but we cannot. So that always it's a pain. Like no, because of the lack of money, the health gets deteriorated, and they have to work for long years, like even very hard work they have to do, even if they're old also.
Yeah, so all this is just a byproduct of the way the society is functioning, the framework of how it has been designed. It's been designed in such a way that the people who are working so much in labor kind of jobs and these kind of jobs get paid very little.
Very
Like
less,
farmers also get paid very little. But the people who are selling that same thing get paid 10 times as much. So all these systems in the society are right now favoring these people, and they're not favoring the people who are doing the work,
Mm. Uh,
production work.
yeah, that's what I see. The pension, the government give pension for the, for example, those who are retired from government servants. They are already having enough money, but they get a big amount of pension. But these people, they don't get anything, no.
Yeah.
Even after working for such a long years, they don't get anything.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say, that the framework of how the society and how things have been designed is to favor the people who have money.
Already money, yeah,
Yeah. So the rich people are
they
able
become
to
more.
become more rich and more powerful, and the poor people are having to work for more long hours and hard work, and they get less money. So that is the current design. But the only way to change that is through understanding the actual role of this money and seeing a holistic, I mean, like getting a holistic approach towards life in such a way that you feel that money is only one component, and when you see the whole bigger picture, then people can change the society over a period of time. Like the people who are making the policies and all that will be the next generation, right? So if this kind of education goes to them, and they really imbibe and try to understand what we're saying and implement it in their own life, see that happiness, where it's actually coming from. When people start seeing all this and they start making different policies, then we will see a change slowly. So that will be a very slow process.
Process.
That is the first part of the thing. And the second part is about you getting upset about these things. So as we see, there are lots of problems in the society, and like you're mentioning one or two of them which you have heard about personally, like from the maid or the servant. But if we really see, there are so many more bigger problems also, and so much of inequality, and so much of so many much bigger problems. But at the end of the day, as an individual, we want to see what we can do right now, and just do what we can do right now.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, at this point of time, if we really feel something, then we start acting on it. So depending on how strong that feeling is to try to do something, to try to make a change, depending on how strong we feel about it, we end up acting that much. So only when we feel upset or something, that doesn't trigger anything, that doesn't lead to any action, right? That only
Yeah,
leads
yeah.
to a feeling of pity, or a feeling of
Yeah, yeah.
anger, or a feeling of that things are not good.
Yeah.
frustration. This leads to only these kind of things. It doesn't go anywhere further. So the answer to that would be to see the situation, see what all problems are there, and then see what your role can be to fix whatever you feel that you're capable to fix. And then you start acting on it immediately, so that you feel like you're at least being a part of the solution rather than only watching the problem and getting frustrated or feeling bad about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Arjun.
And while this is happening, you can always have this filter that whatever problem is happening, whatever is making you feel upset, you can have these two options. One is to accept that situation as it is and say that, okay, that's how it is and that's how it will be. And that's it. And second is to, do something about it in such a way that you feel that you are contributing
The
to that
main thing
solution.
is the upset is sometimes I feel I'm not able to do that. I think that is the one thing it's just making me upset, I think. So
Yeah.
what
So
you told
whatever
you
you're
need
not
to
able to
do,
whatever you're not able to do, there's no point of thinking about it because you're already feeling that you cannot do it.
yeah.
So,
But if you can do the help that we in our place, what we can do, we have to do it, no?
yeah, so you can proactively try to figure out what can be done.
Right.
Like apart from what you already know how to do, you can just proactively try to figure out more of how to help in all these things, and then start joining those organizations, or start working with some people who are doing something, and then try to do as much as you feel like doing, and then that feeling will dissolve at some point, and we'll always have this thing that many problems are there, but if we keep thinking about those problems, then it doesn't help us also, right? It doesn't help to fix the problem also, and it doesn't help us also, because we also feel bad that all this is happening, and then it doesn't really lead to our own feeling of happiness also.
Okay, thank you, Arjun.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Hello.
Good evening, sir. I am Shobha Patil from Basaveshwar Engineering College. Sir, two things I wanted to discuss with you. One is giving others giving opinion about me that I don't good, I need a surgery. My happiness depends on others' comments. Actually, we were discussing about this, sir.
Yeah.
Sometimes the opinions given by others will be, maybe they are correct. They are suggesting us. Sometimes we need to listen to their suggestions, and we need to take a decision. How much we have to listen? What is the right part? What is the truth in that? And then we need to take a decision. We should not totally, our happiness should not be totally dependent on their comments. We must be able to judge the things. How much to consider, how much to take from those comments, because most of the time they are our well-wishers, they are suggesting us the right things, and sometimes you will be unable to recognize the faults within me, maybe their comments may help me to rectify the things.
Yeah, I understood the question. So what we are saying is that we are saying not to base our happiness on other people's opinions of us. We're not saying not to take their suggestions and their feedback and even their criticism also. That might have a lot of points for us which might help us.
That is
So we're not
what.
saying not to take those into account. We're just saying not to
Yes, sir.
make our
We
happiness
need
dependent
to,
on that.
yes, sir. We need to judge the things. How much to consider and how much to take into heart.
Like we're talking about feeling actually here, not
Yeah,
about
yes, sir.
the thing to consider or which one not to consider. That is a logical decision. Like when somebody is
Yes, sir.
giving you some feedback or suggestion, then you
Yes,
have
sir.
the logical choice whether to take this suggestion, not take this suggestion. That
Yes,
is
sir.
your choice, and you take
Yes.
based on what you feel would be the right thing. But we're talking about the feeling of when somebody says
Yes.
something to you, then as an opinion, like somebody says some opinion, then that
Yes, sir.
should not really change your state of your own happiness. Your own happiness can come
Yes.
from within you, and all
Yes,
these
sir.
opinions can just something which is bouncing off. in terms of
Yeah.
the feeling. The feeling doesn't get transferred.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If somebody is
Yes, sir.
appreciating you also, then even
Yes,
then,
sir. You
even
should
if
not take it too much.
thing
You
also,
must be.
we don't take that feeling from the other. We keep
Yes,
our
sir.
feeling. We don't take any feeling from the other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And also regarding the feeling, sir, Madam was discussing about that maid. When the problems of the maid make her unhappy and the problems of the colleagues, it is a normal procedure, she feels, sir. Yes, sir, definitely we feel bad when we listen to the problems of the maids, because I think we are attached to them. There is a connection between, because we are taking their service, sir.
Yeah.
That is why we may feel bad. I agree, sir. But the reason is, if we try to help also, I think lack of what I want to say is mm, vision, sir. Vision, lack of vision. They won't be having idea, because I tried to solve their problems. That is why I had suggested my cook to inform me while doing the admission, because if admission is done to job oriented courses, maybe probably their financial problems may improve. Thinking that I had told my cook to inform me as soon as her son passed a 10th standard exam, so that I can put him in on paramedical course, so that he can get a government job. But she didn't listen to me, because they don't have that vision, sir. That is, if they get a government job, what will be the salary and what will be their financial status and all. She didn't look at that part. Only thing what she felt is, if her son get a job, he will go to some other place. He will leave her and he will go. That is why she doesn't want to leave her son. So she didn't send her son to that course only. This lack of vision, I feel, sir, they will not come up. That is one reason I feel. Second reason is their interest in coming up. That is ichha. That aspiration should be there, sir. That they should come up. That lack of aspiration also will make them the state in which they are. It continues to be in that state. That is what I feel, sir. My opinion. We can take up that for discussion.
Yeah, so in this scenario, it looks like she didn't take that job because she felt that the son will have to work in a different city and they cannot be together. So she had a priority on the relationship more than the physical facility.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
So,
Yeah, true, sir. What you said is right, sir.
yeah, so I mean, like, there are so many things which we can learn from them also, right? That
Yes,
they are not having enough physical facility, still they are prioritizing on the relationship, because
yes,
that is
sir.
what makes us feel happier, actually. Like, if the mother and son are together, that might
Sir.
be something which feels better for their family, rather than getting a high paying job somewhere where they are separate.
Sir, there can be one more solution for this, no, sir? Wherever our children settle, we can go and live with them. That will be a
Yeah.
better option, no, sir? When we can have a comfortable life, let me go with my son and stay with my son is a better solution than what the
Yeah, so all these can be discussed with them, and then make a program to try to improve their situation,
Yes,
take
sir.
all their things into account, all
Yes.
their reasons, whatever they have, and see what all is there.
Uh-huh.
Because in their case, it might be difficult to shift to another city, the logistics of new place and all that.
Yeah, sir. That will be there, sir.
Because
It is
it's not
not
so easy
only.
for them because of the amount of income they have, and all. It's not so easy for them also. So they may have many other reasons.
Yes, sir.
So then they
But
choose
I
based on
will.
what they can see at that point. So you can help them with that vision, what you're saying. Like, if you
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm trying to do it, sir. And also one more thing I feel is the aspiration. Lack of aspiration also may put them in that state only. I feel.
yeah, I mean, their aspiration may be not so much for physical facility, for going up in physical facility. Like in the cities, the main aspiration is only physical facility, of having more physical facility, and mostly that is the main thing. But everything else is decided, like
Yes,
how to have the relationship and how to work on understanding is all based on first physical facility. So that priority is very different in the city from how it is in the village. So that's why the maid and all that, they, even though they might have less physical facility, they might be in a happier state.
Yes, sir. We should learn from them that even with that much salary also they will continue to be very happy.
They are trying to maybe they are trying to with those constraints of this idea that they have to live together, and they might have certain constraints like that which they have made for themselves because that makes them feel happy and be
Yes.
together. Based on that, they must have made some choices which don't favor earning more physical facility, but rather just feel that they want to keep their family together, and they are kind of content with that kind of living.
Okay. Correct, sir. This is one analysis, of a good analysis you gave me, sir. I will take this as an
Yeah, we
example.
don't know their exact situation. So if we talk to them, and as a friend, if we talk to them, then we might know, because they also might be not so open to share, because they also feel the difference, the huge amount of difference, because they don't
Yes, sir.
treat the maid versus the owner. They don't treat the same way, because the owner also, even though the owner may treat the maid properly, there's still a feeling of difference.
Mhm. I'm working on it, sir. I'm working on it. Probably after 2 to 3 years, I may come out with some solution for this. Now she has put her son to commerce line. I said, okay, no problem. Let him finish 10+2. Then I'll again think of it. I have told her, sir, I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's very nice. Very nice to see.
Yes, sir. Because whatever we discuss here, we should practically also implement it in 1 or 2 places. That is the outcome, I feel, sir.
Yeah.
This session, and I think shortly I may come out with outcome in some session. I'll again discuss about this, sir, when I get a outcome
Sure,
from
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I am Uma Maishwa from Hyderabad.
Good evening.
Sir. This is what we have discussed, which is pleasure, and this craving related to getting the name, fame, and pleasure about the um, sensations. Like this will leads to where we are looking at happiness for some temporary happiness we are getting, but it temporary happiness which leads to a selfishness, where this selfishness rising in such a way that is we cannot be overcome from that situation, or we cannot be coming out from the selfishness. Now this temporary happiness, like craving about name and fame, or this sensations, pleasures, but this we are not coming out from that. And meanwhile there is a lot of damage will happen in our life, and that leads to where we are looking at temporary happiness in things and in pleasures and in relations, where we are getting a selfishness, and that selfishness which is um, mm, it is stopping us making a happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we have to be realize this temporary happiness which not leads permanent happiness, which will obstruct our happiness. uh, I think this exploration, sorry, I'm getting a disturbance.
Yeah. Now it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, realizing it is taking a much time before the while realizing, we cannot be come out from, like if you see a drunkard case or smoking case, they have to be realized after 20 30 years after. Then after seeing backside, we cannot be feel that is it gives happiness. Again there is a health issues after that, and he has to be suffer a lot in future. this exploration, I think it is the exploration about happiness has to be each and individual has in the before in the right time. Maybe this can be overcome. Even that selfishness is also they have to be overcome, and they will see the real happiness where they can realize maybe this exploration sessions which will need in the early state, then definitely I think we can bring a changes. What I mean to say that is this temporary happiness which is leading towards the selfishness, and because of the selfishness we are binding in that situation, and we are not overcome out from that situation where it is abstracting our happiness.
Yeah. So this is mainly like in terms of what you're saying, like this drinking and all that. That is one example where maybe only some people are doing it, not everyone. But if we see our own lives also, we can see that there are so many of these kinds of things that we go after, even though we know that that is not going to lead to continuous happiness, even though we know that logically we know, but then we still go after it because we're not able to see anything higher than that. Like we're not able to feel the harmony and that comfortable feeling which comes from harmony, because we don't have that experience of continuous happiness, but we have that experience of these temporary kinds of pleasures. So because we have this experience, we have experienced it before, because of that we keep going after that, even though we know that that is not the real solution. Still we keep going after it because we haven't seen anything more than that. So that's the main reason. And drinking and alcohol is or smoking is only one kind of case. But even if we see tasty food, this restaurant kind of thing, or else any kind of addiction to anything, like addiction to getting attention also, like in the class, if the students are saying good morning and all that, then that might give a certain kind of feeling to us. So we are always trying to catch this feeling from someone else, or catch this sensation from somewhere, try to get something from outside to try to fill our happiness within us. But we can clearly see that all these feelings which we have are within us, they're not from outside. So all the things which are happening within us can be fixed also within us, and all the things happening outside can just continue to happen but not be a source of our happiness. And if that is the case, then we will not have any dependence on all these things. Like we'll start feeling that that restaurant food doesn't really make us that happy. Once we see that, then we don't really go after it that much. We don't have that craving anymore. So it's a matter of a slow process where we first observe that, when we have this craving of something, then we first observe what that craving is. And then we, at some point, once we've experienced it enough, or once we have reached the level of understanding where we feel that that is not going to work for us, only then we start making some changes in our action. It doesn't start with the action. So it's a gradual process. It happens very slowly. And for everybody, they might have different kinds of things which they feel are giving them that temporary happiness. For somebody, it might be taste. For somebody, of food. For somebody, it might be some other sensual kind of addiction. Or for somebody, it might be money. And money also, what it gives you is the main thing, not the actual money, because actual money, paper notes, doesn't give you anything. But then you might have a feeling that this gives you a sense of power, or this gives you a sense of freedom, or this gives you a sense of something. This gives you a sense of being able to do something in the world or something. So like that, all these things might give you something indirectly, like that. Like when you have this fame kind of idea also, you might have this thing that when other people give you that much attention, that means that you feel that you are better than what you feel otherwise. Or even in the class also, if you're feeling that when the students respect you, then you feel good because of that. Then that's all leading to the same thing, where you're trying to get the feeling from the other without realizing. and then you become addicted to that sensation or that feeling from the other, and then you have that craving for that thing again and again. So the same discussion what we had from the beginning. So it's a slow process to move from here to actual happiness.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Uh, but it will be reflecting, if personally, if it is affected, it is no issue. But it damaging the others, it may be affect to the society.
Yeah, that is also true, that
Yeah.
whatever we do in the world and whatever we think also, in fact, whatever each person is thinking has a huge impact on the society, even if
Yes.
they don't do anything.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
also there. That
Yeah.
it is not so easy to see that,
Mm.
but there is a huge impact of even thinking. Whatever you're thinking in your mind, because situations will come according to your thoughts. Like, according to your thoughts, you will experience different situations based on those thoughts. And because of those situations, some actions might happen in those situations. And then that will lead to so many people are involved in all those actions. So, um, for every thought, there's a consequence in the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So the path forward is to first have awareness on this thing and see that whenever we are getting this pleasure, this favorable sensation, then where does it end up? Does it end up in continuous happiness, or does it end up in a new cycle of the same thing, as a continuous cycle of that ups and downs, where you feel good at that moment and then again you feel like you don't have this thing, so again you feel that you want to get it again, you want to get that same sensation again, so therefore you feel unhappy for all that duration, and then when you get it again, then again you feel happy, and then again, you either look for some other sensation, and or you just try to get the same sensation again and again. But then how often can you get it? You can't get it every moment. So the first key is to be aware of what is happening whenever we feel this kind of craving or temptation for any of these things. Then just try to analyze what is happening, and try to analyze these 4 steps. In terms of food, it's easy to analyze this tasty and necessary. And then next stage, when you've had enough, then you feel that it's tasty, but it's not, it's unnecessary. So you're just overeating because you want to still get the taste. And then third is that it becomes tasteless and unnecessary, because then you feel like you already overate also. Then now you don't have any happiness coming out of it. And then after some point, if somebody still forces you, then it becomes intolerable, because then you feel like you have to vomit or something, so it leads to unhappiness, more and more unhappiness. And then once this phase is over, then you go to the next sensation, or you come back to this sensation after one cycle is over. In food taste, this thing will keep going on, that you will keep having new cycles coming again and again. But even if it's not food, if it's anything else also, then you'll keep having these cycles coming and going. And whenever you have this, at the first step, it's tasty and necessary. At that step, you feel a burst of happiness or pleasure or excitement, actually. And then slowly it keeps decreasing. And then when it decreases, then after some time, again you trigger it, again it increases. So it's like something which can never be fixed. So you just draw your awareness towards this thing, and then see this whole process happening with all the sensations that you're going through, whether it's watching a movie with friends or any of these things. I'm not saying don't do it or do it, that is your choice. But I'm just saying, just observe what is the feeling at all these instants. Like when you go for a movie, also, when you're planning the movie, going for the movie, then booking the tickets, and then when you're watching the movie, and then after the movie, and then that whole process, you can just map it and see what is happening. Like, draw your awareness towards your feeling. If you draw your awareness towards your feeling, you'll be able to see exactly where you're getting what kind of feeling, and then you'll see patterns of what is happening. You'll see all these cycles happening again and again, and then at some point you'll feel that that this cycle is so predictable, and now I don't feel the need anymore of these going through these cycles again and again. And that is when you start looking ahead. You start going to the next level, that all these things, sound, touch, form, taste, smell, all these things don't um, you don't get attracted by any of these things anymore. So at our current level, we are not at the stage where we are not getting attracted by these things. In fact, we're getting quite influenced by these things at this moment. But it's a gradual process to move and shift from that process where we are kind of addicted to these things to a stage where we are able to see that these things are totally irrelevant for our happiness. So these things are basically giving us pleasure and then pain or suffering. So a short amount of pleasure and then a larger amount of pain or suffering. And then again a little bit of pleasure, then again a lot of suffering. Then again a little bit of, that cycle keeps going like that. So only when we draw our awareness towards it, we realize that this is the case. And then only then we can go beyond it. So it's a gradual process. We start from awareness and then we keep going ahead.
Yes, it's really uh, nice session, and as I can see, the time is already over. So let's follow
Yeah.
the circadian rhythm and
Yeah.
call it a day for the dinner time. So thank you, Arjun, and thank all the family members, participants, faculty
Any
members,
comments
friends.
from Dilip J or Sarat Chandran? Any comments from Dilip J or Sarat Chandran or Vasanti Ji? Any of you have any
Yeah,
comments? Then we can close.
yeah.
Very nice discussion happened. Yes, Sarat.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah,
namaste.
namaste to everyone. When I was listening, very good discussion was going on. The questions from student side only was bit less. Otherwise, it was wonderful discussion was going on. Special thanks to Arjun. It was. I'm very happy to listen that Arjun is taking. He did so much homework and his explanations become very complete like that. I was feeling it is good. I could join bit late. That's why the earlier part I couldn't listen.
Thank
It
you
was
so much.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I mean, like Sharad sir was saying, no, the pleasure listening to you. How patiently you explain even a very simple thing also. After your explanation, we feel, oh, we need to decipher things like this. Thank you so much, sir. That's why
Thank
we keenly attending all the sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Then we can call it a day. And
Yeah,
we'll
thank you,
see
everybody.
you
And
next week.
we will meet again a day after tomorrow for holistic health session,
On
and next
Friday,
week
the
for
health.
universal human value follow-up session. So, namaste, sabhi ko.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste,
Namaste,
namaste.
Rajul sir.
Namaste.
Thank you,
Namaste
Parikshit
all.
Ji. बहुत अच्छा.
Hmm.
Namaste, Parikshit Ji.
जी, thank you, भैया.
Namaste.
Namaste.
नमस्ते, नमस्ते भैया.
सभी को
नमस्ते
नमस्ते.
सभी.